So, Apple did the WWDC keynote. Spoiler alert, this thing's still up to date. So yes, the WWDC keynote did happen, and as I said, this MacBook is still up to date. There was no new MacBook Pro, although we did expect that. In fact, there was no new hardware at all. Some people were expecting new Mac Pro, new Mac Mini, new iMac. None of that happened. So, no, we didn't get new hardware, we just got software. But that's okay, maybe the software is really exciting. Well, not really. Probably the biggest update is macOS, the new name of OS X, macOS Sierra, which is, they didn't really give it a number, it's just called macOS Sierra. It's the new release of macOS. It will be the newer version of El Capitan. It added a couple of things, like tabs in every window, which is kind of interesting, and Siri for Mac, because, you know, I've always wanted to talk to my Hackintosh. Although Siri for Mac wasn't exactly a surprise. I mean, it was pretty leaked in advance. In fact, if you haven't already tried this, before the keynote, if you asked Siri on an iPhone to open settings in the window, it would tell you that you didn't have an app named Finder. No, seriously, I bet it still works. Go try it now if you haven't. Anyway, yeah, the macOS, it's a new name, it has Siri. I'm probably skimming over some other things, but honestly there were no headline features that I was particularly interested in. iOS, we got iOS 10. It has a cool iMessaging app. iMessage didn't come to Android like some of us thought, but I mean, now you can make the messages like slam down onto the page, and they were showing an example with like emojis, and it isn't particularly interesting. Yeah. The notifications on the lock screen look new, and now if you pick up your iPhone, you'll see the lock screen come on, but they just sort of look a bit more like Apple Watch notifications, and beyond that, well, again, I'm skimming over stuff here, but there just isn't much to talk about. It's not the major visual redesign some people were rumoring, and it's nothing close to iOS 7, so really, iOS 10, about as interesting as macOS, gotta call it that, macOS Sierra. So, what else did we get? Well, we got a new tvOS, which added some things. You can now use your iPhone as a remote with an app, although I think you could do that before. The app's a bit better now. And there was some other stuff really not interesting. And watchOS. Well, the apps load 7 times faster because it keeps them in RAM, apparently, while you're not using them. It has a dock now, which is where you can swipe up from the bottom and see apps you use often. There's a new Minnie Mouse home screen instead of Mickey Mouse, because I'm sure that's a feature that everyone was asking for. And that's pretty much the summary of everything I found interesting at WWDC. Yeah, it was a boring event. It was completely software, and the software stuff that happened wasn't even that interesting. So yeah, WWDC was a disappointment, but better luck in the fall. Hopefully, new MacBook Pro coming out, maybe with, you know, OLED keys, as were rumored. But yeah, WWDC, not that interesting. So, hope you enjoyed this super boring video about a super boring event. But if you did enjoy the video somehow, and you want to see Dodoid grow, then please subscribe, because that really does help us. And if you have any thoughts, probably tell us how boring this video and or the event were, you can comment that below. So, thanks for watching, and bye. Probably the most interesting part of WWDC was getting to see the text, "Phil Schiller is attacking your village."